So let me set the stage. I've got 2 kids, one away at college, one at home, freshman high school, very busy, sports, extracurricular activities, band, musical, chorus, you name it, seems like she's involved in it. Full-time real estate agent, work 5 to 6 days a week, takes up most of my day up at dawn, down at dusk. On top of that, I'm a single mom, one driver in the household to be able to take care of all the necessities. I've got to take care of everything around the house, mow the lawn, do the dinners, and so on and so forth. Got all these balls in the air, and somehow I got to figure out how to also have personal time, like read a book or take a walk or do yoga. Like, is this a pipe dream? Like, does balance actually exist, or is it completely something farce that you only see on the Hallmark Channel? That is what I'm gonna dive into today. So you ask any working parent, and they're going to tell you we all share the same challenge, and that is this idea of balance, of having so many balls in the air. You know, you don't know what to do or how to get there. And I think a common misconception is that, you know, if you make time for yourself, if you sit down and decide to read a book on a Saturday morning, that you're either taking time away from your kids or you're taking time away from your business. You know, you're ignoring someone for the sake of, you know, some self-indulgent. And that is something that prevents a lot of us from even doing that. You know, it's something that is, you know, something that we're always striving for. You know, how do I achieve balance? How do I figure it out? I struggled with it for years and years and years, until I kind of figured out some key elements. So I've got 4 things that I kind of wanted to talk about and kind of share, and hopefully they'll be helpful to you. So the first thing, the most important thing, is that balance doesn't actually exist. So what does that mean? Does that mean like we're never going to have time for ourselves? No, that means that we're constantly balancing. Things come into our lives, and I for certain have made the mistake being type A and meticulous and, you know, and very schedule driven, and I like my systems, and I for certain am guilty of spending hours setting up the perfect schedule. And I'm going to do this for an hour and that for an hour, and I'm going to read for 20 minutes, and I'm going to exercise for 30 minutes, and the whole 9 yards. And then one phone call derails it all. Whether it's a call from the kids' school or a client calls and it's something I gotta take care of because it's urgent, time sensitive, and the next thing you know, the whole day is just gone down the tubes. And I think that the thing that we need to remember is that it's a constant balancing act, not that I'm in balance now and out of balance the next minute. You know, you kind of, you're standing on that pivot board, that seesaw, and you're saying, okay, it's starting to lean towards work. I've got to kind of lean towards and maybe schedule and be a little bit more aware to schedule in some things on the personal side. Or I'm spending a lot of time on the golf course. Maybe I need to sit down and maybe go out to lunch with my girls and check in with them and see what's going on with them. And the way I do that is through weekly reviews. So I sit down systematically every Saturday morning. I have that in my schedule. Every Saturday morning, I sit down and I do a review of the week that's passed. So I look and see, and I live and die by my Google Calendar and my time blocking. So I look and see, where did I spend my time? You know, how much time did I work? How much time did I play? How much time did I spend with the kids? And then I make time and shifts accordingly for the following week. So if things are out of whack and that balance board is tipping one way or the other, you know, I can make a correction, you know, by scheduling that time in the following week to kind of bring that balance board, you know, a little bit more even. The other thing is and I learned this a long time ago, is to manage your schedule. Don't let your schedule manage you. So in other words, you make this schedule, you put it on paper, you say, okay, I'm going to do this from this time to that time. And yes, sometimes things happen and you get that emergency phone call, but not all phone calls are emergencies. Not all things like, oh, I forgot to take the laundry out of the dryer. That's not an emergency. That'll just have to wait until the time that you've kind of set aside to take the laundry out. It'll have to wait until later. I think that sticking to that schedule, especially when we're self-employed, and of course, this of course has been a hot topic over the last 2 years as more people are on their own. They're working from home. They're left to their own devices. There's no one standing there that's going to say anything if all of a sudden you just get up from your desk and go downstairs and put a load of laundry in, or have an unscheduled snack, or be like, hey, I wonder what's on YouTube. Let's see what's going on, XYZ. And then next thing you know, the whole day's gone sideways. 30 minutes turns into an hour, and now you're letting things, the schedule, take care of you. You're letting that intuition, you're letting things just kind of roll, as opposed to letting that schedule, you make that schedule, you stick to it, and not let outside forces derail you and unbalance you. The other part of this is something that I learned early on, especially when my kids were in middle school and everybody was looking, PTA and the whole 9 yards. The word no is super powerful, and there is guilt for certain, for myself especially, to say, if somebody says, hey, can you do this? Or hey, Jen, do you want to go do that? Or whatnot. And to say no to that, no thank you, is, number one, extremely empowering because you're taking that time back. But I think we need to let go of the guilt, and the guilt of saying, gosh, you know what, I didn't do this because I should have, and I'm saying no, and that makes me a bad person because of my choices. No. You've got to stick to your schedule. You got to stick to the things that you determined when you did your weekly review. What's the most important thing that I want to do this week? And then stick to that, for that following week, regardless of the outside circumstances. If you want to schedule something in the future, maybe you put it on a list to say, maybe I do want to be PTA president someday, but maybe right now is just not the time. And that's okay. I think, letting go of that guilt is something that we have to work on in order to keep ourselves, in balance when we're juggling all of these things. The second thing is to put your mask on first. Now, I'm not talking about COVID masks, okay? I'm talking about that old analogy of when you're sitting in an airplane and the oxygen mask drops. The one thing they tell you to do is put that oxygen mask on yourself first so you can help others around you. If you don't take care of yourself first, you're not going to be able to take care of anybody else. And that's probably the most, one of the most important things is, when I sit down and do my weekly schedule, when I do my monthly schedule, my yearly calendar, the first thing I slot in are the Jen time. Making sure that you slot time for yourself, that mental, that emotional recharge time is invaluable. And let me tell you, it absolutely feels guilty. Last year, I made it, one of my goals was to play golf with my dad. And I made that a priority. And at times, for certain, our goal was to get together, even if it was just a quick 9 holes, do it once a week as long as the weather cooperated, to get together and do that. And there were definitely certain times that I felt incredibly guilty doing that instead of, being at my desk working. And once I put that guilt aside, I came to the realization that, if I had let that guilt take over and I stayed home and I worked during those hours, I would have missed invaluable time with my dad. I would have missed all those beautiful days that I was able to get a couple hours of fresh air, some exercise. And then after that, after those days, I always felt better. I always felt, getting into, sitting down and diving into my work. Now I'm 100% energized and ready to go and focused and not feeling worn out and feeling like beat up and, mentally tired because I haven't taken that time out for myself. Once you get the personal items, then you put your family items, and always in this order. Work, you put your personal, your family items, and then your work items. Always in that order, and especially if you're self-employed, it needs to be that way. To make sure that you stay, try to keep that balance. At the end, I've always said, at the end of my life, for certain, my clients are important. My clients turn into friends. Over the years, I've made some awesome friends, and for certain, they're very high on the importance, but they are not higher than my family. There's hands down, they're not. So if that's the case, then why do we prioritize some of our appointments, those last minute showings and whatnot? Why do we put those ahead of spending time with our kids or that family vacation? I can't tell you how many real estate agents I have talked to over the years. When I asked them when the last time they took a vacation, and it was like 5 years ago. And I'm thinking, are you kidding me? If you're self-employed, you've got to look at it from the standpoint of, if I was working for a regular employer, how many weeks vacation will I have accrued at this point in time? I've been a real estate agent over 25 years. If I don't take at least 4 weeks vacation, I'm shorting myself. It's not healthy. I'm entitled to that. It's good for my mental health to do that. And 4 weeks, if not more, time, that's something that I would normally get if I punched a clock for someone else. So why not take that time? So I think it's important to schedule that your personal time, your family time, then your work schedule, your appointments and everything that goes along, your creative time and so forth that goes on the schedule in that order, for certain helps with that, maintaining that balancing act. Now, the third thing is to move with purpose. Now, what that means is whatever you're engaged in, whether it be reading a book, whether it be spending time with the kids, whether it be, working at the computer, be involved, be focused 100% of the time. I use a timer, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, sometimes 15 minutes, but I use that timer, set that timer for the amount of time that I want to devote to that task, and then I put everything on hold. I put the text messages, the phone goes into sleep mode, Apple now has focus mode, everything goes silent so that I can be 100% focused, and the amount of productive work time in that short period of time is incredible. If I'm sitting down to read for 10 minutes and I focus myself, if I sit and try to read a book and in the back of my mind I'm thinking, I got to write this person a note, I got to call this person, or I got to make that doctor appointment, that doesn't really count as rejuvenation time. That's not really personal time because my mind is somewhere else. If you're going to do it, be focused and 100% involved in whatever task you're committing to. And the fourth thing, which is probably the most important thing to remember, is don't compare yourself to others. Every situation is different, and this sounds so simple, it sounds so obvious, but it's such a black hole, whether it be raising the kids. I know that in this society, growing up with 2 kids, I'm constantly being, just completely inundated with comparing myself to, how I'm raising my kids versus other people. So, for example, Chloe is, plays softball, and she's going to the, softball games, and she's enjoying it, and the coach says, he sees potential, so on and so forth. So immediately I start looking around to all the other kids that she's playing with, and all the other parents and what they're doing, and I start saying, that parent's got them in club ball. Maybe I should have my kid in club ball, and you start going down that path of comparing and comparison instead of taking a step back and saying, what is best for my kid? What is best for me? What is best for my business? I know comparison and being in real estate, It is a huge black hole in comparing, when I was a new agent, I looked at others and I say, if I'm not achieving what that other person is achieving, then I'm failing and I'm not a success and I'm not doing well. And it couldn't be further from the truth for a multitude of reasons, but the number one reason is they're not me and I'm not them. There's only one of each of us. And, my personal best, what my goal is, may not be a financial goal. For somebody else, it might be. Your goals change year to year, and it's not always, I want to make X amount of dollars. I want to, buy this one thing. I want to go on this one trip. It's not always the same. It's not the same for everybody. So why do we constantly compare? Why do we constantly try to hold ourselves up to standards which causes imbalance? Bottom line is that it's not too late. It's not too late to try to achieve that balancing act. That old adage, this is the way we've always done it, or this is what my family does, or this is what it's in my genes, or, whatever. It's all nonsense. We all are in control of our own destiny. We're in control of our own time. No one is going to control how I spend my time. No one is going to control how I set my priorities. And it's never too late to sit down and readjust. And I will tell you, I do that on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, where some days I am just absolutely sideways. I'm completely unmotivated, so I don't follow my plan at all. But the beautiful thing is that every day's a do-over. So like tomorrow, it's like, okay, well, do the best I can do today, and tomorrow, start again. Start with my, my fresh list, and we'll just, get back on that balancing beam, that seesaw, and try to get everything in balance tomorrow. But I'm not going to beat myself up over what happened yesterday, because there's nothing I can do about it. There's nothing I can do to change what happened yesterday. There's nothing I can do to change my family history. So we're just going to let it go, and we're going to focus on the future and going forward. So I hope that going into 2022, these are some things that can help you and help you achieve that balancing act. If you have any tips or tricks that you'd love to share, please post in the comments below. And if you'd like to hear more content, I post a lot about real estate and community, and I sprinkle in a little bit of home tech and personal productivity tips as well. Please like and subscribe. I post videos on every Wednesday, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Have a great day.